I presented a letter from 11 elected officials for you as well for some written comments, but I wanted to just expand upon them or stress some points. Dominion's proposed IRP would increase carbon dioxide emissions by 50% over the next 25 years, which I think is the exact opposite direction of what we need to be doing to be in the public interest. And also, besides being environmentally sound, doesn't have to be a financial sacrifice at all on the ratepayers of Virginia. And the savings that the plan proposes is right now we're only meeting 1.3% of the Commonwealth's 10% voluntary energy efficiency goal, and it only proposes meeting half of that, or less than half of that. And I think that a clean energy investment plan over the next 15 years would use solar, land-based and offshore wind power. We know right now that it could power, at the end of that period, almost 1 million Virginia homes. We know that it could save between $663 million and $1.78 billion and reduce Dominion's reliance on fossil fuels by 15%. I believe that the company, as well as all utility providers, have a duty to start to wean the Commonwealth off of fossil fuels, particularly when it can be cost efficiently done. We need to increase renewables and our energy efficiency, which will reduce the risks and costs to Virginia. And I would urge the company to significantly increase its renewable energy and efficiency. I think it's time to acknowledge that energy sources like solar and wind are free. Once the infrastructure is built, they're free. No fuel costs, no volatile price fluctuations, as we're seeing in natural gas or in oil. 6 years ago, the General Assembly passed an efficiency goal of 10%. Again, it's being only reached about 1.3% today. And as a point of comparison, Georgia Power committed to generate 700 megawatts of new renewables of solar alone by the end of 2016. But Dominion proposes 220 by 2024. So we have a company in another state that can do 3 times better than us in just a year, while we're going to take significantly longer to do not nearly as well. And I would just say, I'm going to read to you from the bottom of the letter that we're submitting. Dominion's current long-term plan would increase the production of fossil fuel-fired power rather than investing in clean energy resources. This will lock Virginia into decades of added pollution, causing greater public health and environmental impacts. The economic and environmental benefits of shifting to clean energy sources are already being seen in other states and in small ways in our own communities. Yet to fully realize these benefits in Virginia, we need our utilities to do their part and meet demand with locally based renewable and energy efficiency resources. We hope that as you deliberate whether Dominion's IRP is reasonable and in the public interest, you will consider these concerns. In our view, Dominion's current proposal is unreasonable. We look forward to working with and supporting you in urging our utilities to invest in affording clean energy resources in lieu of expanding our reliance on fossil fuels. And I would say to conclude that I believe that Dominion is a smart, successful company. They know how to repair power lines. They know how to deliver power. Surely they could come up with a smart, successful strategy that is both environmentally responsible and responsible for long-term rates of our consumers. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Any cross? Okay. Thank you, Senator. I should note, for all public witnesses, what I will do is call your name and let the next person know so they can be preparing mentally at least. And you are subject to cross, so you'll hear me ask the attorneys if they want to do cross-examination after you've made your statement. Okay, the next speaker is Kaylee Ferguson, and will be followed by Stephen Bruckner.
This hearing and this commission's response to its duty and to Dominion's current proposal, I think can be a perfect illustration of how and when government can prove itself both useful to the businesses that it oversees and the citizens it's here to serve. I'm a staunch capitalist. Capitalism remains the most vibrant, most creative, most productive economic system devised by man. But those who decry the role of democratic government as an equally powerful partner to free market capitalism are forgetting one very important thing. By their very construct and nature, corporations are not able to respond to and protect the future needs of people. Capitalism is about profit, and as such, it can lack integrity, morality, and certainly the ability to respond to a long-term challenge like climate change. Free market capitalism is a strong, beautiful, wild, hungry dog, which itself is served by the leash of democratic, uncorrupted regulation. There's no need to change or demonize what American business is and does. There is only the very real need to put that wild dog on the leash of our common good, especially when our most crucial challenge mandates that we take the longer view. The people of the great Commonwealth of Virginia do not have time for an energy plan from its major utility company that does not include the real value of moving strongly to renewable energy now. Dominion's plan is too little, too late to do them or us any good. We don't have time for this. This month's comprehensive globally sourced United Nations report on climate change tells us clearly and accurately that we cannot lose another decade to business as usual. In order to avoid disaster, we must decarbonize electrical production within 15 years. 15, to the greatest extent we possibly can. How successful we are will determine how much climate change disaster we face. How much we face, not whether we face it. This Dominion proposal is nothing more than business as usual. In the context of the real costs of not making bold and immediate progress away from carbon and toward renewable, it is ludicrous to whine and quibble over slight rate increases and the cost of retooling. What is at stake here is our water, our air, our food, our democracy, our national security, our economy, our lives. I have great faith in Dominion and other major American corporations. Faced with challenges and regulations from their government partner that are clear and imperative and consistently held, they can and will respond by meeting those imperatives and making money and jobs and clean energy. I hope this hearing and the leadership that results will be a perfect illustration of how and when government can prove itself responsible and useful. A moment when a more forward-looking, more scientifically accurate, more moral view can provide the right criteria to meet the climate change challenge. A moment when the members of the Commission can steer Virginia towards the commonwealth, the common good, by saying, no, we don't have time for this. Thank you.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Ms. Ferguson. Any cross? Okay, no cross. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My testimony relates to the IRP residential analysis. My point is that the Commission should reject Dominion's IRP residential rate analysis, Section 6.3, because it does not adequately consider alternative rate designs that serve the public interest by bending the demand curve downward, which would reduce rates by delaying or avoiding the construction of new generation plants.
I don't think you gave your address. Can you give your address, please?
Yes, on the reverse, Stephen Bruckner, it's 8620 Oak Street in McLean, Virginia.
Thank you.
The issue is timely and critical given Dominion's expected failure to achieve, by a factor of 50%, the goal of reducing electricity consumption by 10% of that consumed in 2006 by the year 2022. This goal, which was legislated by the General Assembly in 2007 and affirmed by the State Corporation Commission in 2009, is too important to allow Dominion to walk away from it when there is a readily available alternative that would enable them to reach it. That alternative is for Dominion to modify its current residential rate structure that uses declining block rates during non-summer months because it encourages excess consumption, and use a weak inclining block rate during summer months because it leads to excessively high peak demand. The issues. To be useful, the IRP residential rate analysis should do the following. First, it should address the paramount question of how best to use rate design to bend the demand curve downward. Two, it should address the issue of reducing peak demand, which occurs on approximately 10 days per year during the summer and is used to justify the permitting of new generating plants. Although Dominion uses inclining block rates during the summer to reduce demand, the price differential between the first block below 800 kilowatt hours and the second block above 800 kilowatt hours is too small. Specifically, it is only plus 17%, which contrasts with the minus 30% price differential for declining block rates during the non-summer months. Dominion needs to consider higher price differentials between plus 17% and plus 30% for its inclining block rate second block. 3, it should replace the declining block rates that are used during non-summer months with flat rates. Even though year-round inclining block rates would be more effective at reducing consumption, customers would nevertheless perceive a transition from declining block rates to flat rates as an incentive to consume less and be more gradual for customers' perceptions. 4, we should calculate and compare the rate impact of delaying or eliminating the justification for new power plants by the proposed rate changes versus the rate impact of amortizing existing power plants over reduced levels of electricity consumption. And 5, it should address the moral and regulatory issue raised by non-summer declining block rates that penalize the class of low-use consumers of electricity who are disproportionately low-income households by charging them more for their electricity and using that extra revenue to subsidize its highest-use customers who are disproportionately high-income households. In conclusion, the SEC should reject the residential rate analysis provided in Dominion's 2013 IRP. Instead, the SEC should require Dominion to redo its analysis under the direction of a nationally recognized expert in block rate design for bending the demand curve downward that will help Dominion meet and preferably exceed its legislated and agreed commitment to the General Assembly to reduce electricity consumption.
Thank you. Any cross from Mr. Bruckner? Okay, hearing no cross, thank you, Mr. Bruckner.